Joining me now is Danielle Alvarez, Trump campaign senior advisor. Danielle, thanks for joining us tonight. Now, running against Kamala versus running against Biden, they're the same in a way. They agree on most of the issues, of course, but she's a lot younger. She's like 25 years younger than Joe Biden or more. So how does this change?
It doesn't. The Trump campaign has been prepared for whoever would be at the top of the ticket because we have the best asset in all of politics. We have Donald Trump, who delivered the devastating and dominant debate performance that has led to Joe Biden dropping out of the race. And ultimately, Kamala owns every single failure of the Biden-Harris administration and then some, because she is the true definition of a California liberal.
Well, when you think about that debate, though, I mean, it was more than the substance. The substance was great, but it was the performance. And are you saying tonight that you believe her performance will be as abysmal as Joe Biden's performance, or you're just going to say on the substance you're going to win hands down?
I think both. I think it's very clear that Kamala Harris really struggles to form a sentence. You know, she speaks in Venn diagrams. We've all heard her diatribe about yellow school buses and so forth. And the president is a great messenger to the American people, not only in the way that he delivers his message, but in his record. And voters are dying to return back to President Trump's strength, to his success, and to the prosperity that he delivered when he was in the White House. I mean, right now, Democrats are just rearranging chairs on a sinking Titanic.
Well, some Democrats, though, are actually pretending to get really excited. Watch.
Let me just tell you, as a Democrat, I was national co-chair for Kamala Harris for president. We're so damn excited now. My phone's blowing up. It's going crazy. I think that there is a lot of excitement, a lot of chaos, a lot of confusion. But at the end of the day, Democrats, I have Kamala Harris and a long list of others, possible VP individuals taking on J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, and we stand a fair chance.
Well, Danielle, they think that she's younger. She's, obviously it would be a historic president because she's, not the typical white male that we've seen except for Obama. So what about that?
Well, I think that we're going to have a hard time seeing the Democrat Party coalesce around Kamala Harris. Remember, she is not the choice of Democrat voters. She's a choice of the very elites that Joe Biden decried for pushing him out of the campaign trail. And so I think it's, it's wishful thinking that they will come and coalesce around her. We will see who ends up at the top of the ticket. It has been an absolute disaster for a few weeks for Democrats. And it's in stark contrast to President Trump, to the historic Republican National Convention, and to the months ahead, the 100 days ahead, that will lead to victory for the Republican Party and for the nation as a whole.
One thing that I think is interesting is that Joe Biden at least had the pretense of being kind of working class, Scranton Joe and all. But he around the edges, he could mix it up with the union guys, even if his policies didn't really help union workers that much. But he could play that role a little bit. She can't play that role at all. She has zero credibility with working class people, zero, coming from San Francisco and everything that's happened to that city and everything she represents. So to me, that's the biggest benefit to having Kamala Harris in there versus Joe Biden. Not even the age difference, it's the working class sensibility. She can't even pretend to have it.
I'm not sure who she relates to at all. Again, she's a California elite. She's a California liberal. She was the original border czar. She once supported abolishing ICE, decriminalizing border crossings. Let's not forget, she was the deciding vote on the $1.9 trillion spending package that sent us and triggered inflation. I mean, I'm not sure what American voter will look at her record and think that she is the person for them, because not only does she have the disasters before she joined the Harris-Biden ticket, but it's been an abysmal 3.5 years. And by the way, she was the liar who did not, who hid the fact that Joe Biden was having serious health issues. So that trust is just not there.
All right, Fox's Brett Baer just talked to Senator Joe Manchin, who says that he is, in fact, considering throwing his hat into the ring, even just to be the voice that brings the Democratic Party back to the middle. I don't know what that add-on comment says. I mean, that kind of seems like it's just kind of not even serious. But he would be more threatening, would he not be, to the Trump campaign? Because he does have much more of an appeal to middle-of-the-road voters, certainly, than Kamala Harris. Wouldn't you be concerned about his candidacy?
That's just not where the Democrat Party is. I mean, that's just not a real hypothetical to think that he would be the choice of Democrat voters. The Democrat Party, and especially the elites who are pushing Biden out and making this decision, are more in line with a Kamala Harris. And that's just not where the American people are. So I think it's just going to continue to be a couple disastrous weeks for Democrats as they head towards their Democrat National Convention.
I don't think anyone should take anything for granted. And I know the Trump campaign's not, because anyone gets cocky that it's going to be a cakewalk, I think they're going to be sorely disappointed. Danielle, great to see you. Thank you so much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.